So what is up? This is for you, whether you're a photographer or not, whether you're an independent contractor. I have some hair and makeup artists that are friends and watch some of these videos, but whatever you do, make sure you tune into the end because I'm going to show you how you can get this money, what it can be used for, and how you can get it forgiven. And if you know anybody else that needs to see this, make sure to tag them, share this link with them, and get the word out. So if you have not been living under a rock, you know that the Senate has just approved 96-0 the Paycheck Protection Program, I believe it's called. It's in here, PPP. And this is part of the CARES Act, part of the $2 trillion stimulus. And as it stands right now, March 27th, this is who can get it and this is how it can be used. So this is the relief that small businesses are getting. And this applies to most businesses under 500 people per physical location or with under 500 employees. And there's a bunch of other standards in here, but that basically applies to anyone watching this video right now, okay? The other thing to keep in mind is that this is for sole proprietorships, independent contractors, and the self-employed individuals are also eligible, okay? So I put the links in there for all of this. So if you want to do more in-depth reading, and of course you can go read the 1,000-page stimulus bill, but this is just a breakdown, and this comes to you from Winston & Strawn LLP. Okay, so let's go. How are these loans made? This is super important, and you're going to see why. These loans are made at your bank. So it's either going to be a small bank near where you live. It could also be Chase, Wells Fargo, any of the major banks, any bank that already gives out SBA loans. And you can go online to the SBA website and go find who these lenders are, or you can just call, and most banks nowadays, they do SBA loans. So it's not going to be hard to find one. But you need to follow the instructions in this to make sure that you get the money as fast as possible and that you actually get approved. Okay. The next paragraph is going to be in how much can be borrowed in the PPP loans. Obviously, there's the maximum for the entire country. And then the maximum loan per business is 10 million, which probably won't apply if you're watching this video. And if less, 2.5 times the average month payroll cost of the business over the year to making of the loan. Practically, this can become the year prior to the loan application. Okay, so basically it's saying it's going to cover 2.5 times last year's payroll, okay? Or I'm pretty sure it could also be this year's prorated for what you've been paying, but you're gonna have to check with your bank. So basically, if you're a sole proprietor and you've been paying yourself, you're going to do these calculations with your bank and they're going to guide you to how much you can actually apply for. Okay, how can PPP loans be used? This is really important because the way it's used is also almost the exact way the loans are forgiven. But generally, these loans are used for payroll costs. Okay, and there's also a proration for people that make over $100,000 a year, but that's fine. It can also be used for group healthcare benefits costs and insurance premiums, and it can be used towards mortgage interest and rent payments. So if you have a studio, if you bought a building for a studio, it can be used towards the mortgage interest on that, or it can be used on your rent that you pay in your studio. And it can be used on interest on debt that exists after or as of February 15th. Now, remember, these dates are really important because as we move on, there's going to be some stipulations, and this is an important date because they basically want to protect people that had liabilities before February 15th and not incentivize people to just go take out extra expenses. So if you don't already have a studio space, doesn't mean you can just go rent one and have this pay for it, okay? So you can go over the terms, maximum rate of 4% and no later than 10 years after determination. That's fine. You can keep going with that. And then this is the most important part, right? So we said sole proprietors can get this. We said self-employed, independent contractors, and of course businesses. But these loans can actually be forgiven, and this actually turns it more into a grant. So it tells you how it can be forgiven, and it's basically using it for payroll costs, right? And of course, they're going to exclude or prorate the compensation above $100,000 per year per person. It can also be forgiven if you use it for healthcare group benefits or insurance premiums. It also says, again, for mortgage interest and or rent payments with leases that existed before February 15th. So if you did not have a lease, do not go rent a photography studio or do not go rent a business area thinking that you're going to get relief or get some free payments. It's not going to work. You're going to have to show that the lease was before February 15th. And then you can also use it for transportation, utilities, gas, electricity, water, transportation, phone, internet access that began before February 15th, which that's pretty open-ended, right? Transportation. Those are probably a lot of businesses that a lot of photographers have, especially if you're driving, especially if you're flying to destination weddings. Everybody has internet and phone, so that can definitely help there. Okay, so you can already see that the things that this can be used for, this covers a lot of different businesses. And then it keeps going. And keep in mind, it's the way they're gonna, they're gonna calculate this. They basically want you to keep on employees, but keep in mind this is still for the self-employed independent contractors. Okay. And they're basically going to compare this to last year's full-time employees or the beginning of this year's full-time employees. You can selected by the borrower, and the amount forgiven is also reduced to the extent that compensation for any individual making less than $100,000 per year is reduced by more than 25% measured against the most recent full quarter. So they're basically going to go back and say, look, did you reduce people's income? Did you reduce their paychecks? And if you did, you are maybe not going to get as much of it forgiven. So just check with the bank. But this is super important because for most people, you see the things that can be forgiven in here. While it is a loan, it basically turns into a grant, but you got to follow these steps. Okay. So you can keep reading this. The way you're going to file this is with your bank. So you guys can comment below. Are you guys using Chase, Wells Fargo? Are you using a local bank? And again, you can go on the small business website and find SBA lenders, and they're a dime a dozen. They're everywhere, but they are going to be packed. So you need to listen to the next step. The next step is I want you to go to disasterloan.sba. And what you're going to do is you're going to try to apply online. And of course, it's not going to let you. So when you click on here, it's going to give you a list of forms you need to download and fill out. Now, the reason this is important is because if you go to the bank, all they're going to do is they're going to give you these forms and tell you to go home. Or they're going to make you sit in the lobby with 400 other people trying to do the same thing, and you're going to get delayed. And then you're going to be scrambling to get this ready, and you're going to fall behind in line. So if you read through here, my understanding is if you're a sole proprietor, hey, that might be 5C. If you're a business like an LLC, an S Corp, so on, you'll have to probably do this one. Check with the bank, they'll tell you, but obviously you can read through which ones are required. For me, since I'm an LLC, I will have to fill out this Form 5. So you'll open it up. It's pretty simple. And then it'll have a bunch of check marks. You'll have to fill in your data. And then you'll have to come down in here and you will have to read the filing requirements. There are a few other forms you have to fill out. And this is why it's so important that you get these filing requirements first, because you're going to need to not only fill out this form, you're also going to need to fill out this authorization form so that they can pull your taxes. So you're going to come down in here and you're going to find this request for tax transcripts. You're going to fill this one out, and this basically gives them permission to go pull your taxes. And then the next one is you're going to have to give them complete copies and including all schedules of your most recent federal income tax returns for the applicant business. And if they're not available, you're going to have to explain that. It's going to be really hard to explain, but you're going to have to basically send in your past year's taxes. So for me, I'm going to send 2019, I'm going to send 2018, I'm going to send 2017. Okay. The other thing you're going to do is you're going to have to do a personal financial statement. Again, you're going to come back to this page and you're going to find it right here, personal financial statement, and you're going to have to fill this out. So pretty easy, but the biggest thing is you have to have this done before you go and you try to apply to this. And then you're going to go down here, you're going to get that done, and then you're going to have to do the SBA form 2202, schedule of liabilities, and you're going to come in here and you're going to find that right here, 2202, schedule of liabilities, and it's super basic. They even tell you can use your own template, but why not just use this one if this is the one they provide? So it is ultra important that if you're going to try to get this in a timely manner, that you have this pre-filled out before you go in there. And even if you kind of fill out the wrong thing and maybe you pull out your tax returns, it's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. And even if the documents change a little bit, at least you can instantly just transfer over the data. One other thing that's really important to keep in mind is 8 weeks. Is that the loans can be forgiven when you're using this over an 8-week period after the loan is made. So this means that when you get the loan, let's just say for an example, let's just say you have an expensive studio space, you have some employees, you might go get a $60,000 loan, right? Well, that $60,000 loan, you have to spend on payroll taxes, you have to spend on your rent, you have to spend on your utilities, your phone, your water, your electricity over the next 8 weeks. Anything after that is not forgiven as far as this is worded. So just keep in mind that it needs to be for the 8-week period following when the loan is made. And that might, you have to talk to your bank. That might be after it's approved or after you get the funds. It's probably after you get the funds, but just keep that in mind that this is money that could technically be forgiven and be viewed as a grant. So I hope that helped. I know this is a lot. I'm going to put the links in the video below. If you know anyone else that needs to have this prepared, the Treasury Secretary is saying as early as Friday, possibly, if the Congress members can do their job and get this passed, as early as Friday, you can probably walk into your bank and do this. That's next Friday, which would be, I don't know, April something, early April. If not, if it doesn't get passed today or tomorrow, it might be a couple business days after that. But just keep in mind, there are some forms that might take you an hour or two, but it's imperative that you go in there prepared and that you don't wait to get the slap in the face where, you know, you're going to probably find long wait lines to even do this. They're probably going to have a backlog, and you're going to want to be the first person there to do this. And most importantly, the first person that's actually prepared with all these financial statements, all of your tax returns, and all of the data that they're going to need to file this anyways. Otherwise, you're going to go there, you're going to waste a bunch of your time. They're going to tell you almost exactly what I told you. And then you're going to be really disappointed and go on social media and say that the whole system sucked. So let's avoid that. Pass this on, share this with anyone else that needs to see this, and I will see you guys in the next one.